Please join us in welcoming SkiftX Head of Studio, Jeremy Kressmann.
That's okay, no problem at all.
Hi, everybody. So we're talking today about the evolution of tourism in Dubai and the implications of that for those of us in the travel industry. With that in mind, I wanted to share some takeaways from a brand new report we've just published in collaboration with our partners from Dubai Department of Economy and Tourism. Let's take a look. So before I get into the takeaways, I wanted to mention you can download this report for free right now using the QR code up here on the screen. There's a lot more information I'm going to be able to share here. One point I want you to take away from today's report, if you leave, is that global travel trends are clearly shifting to the east. The World Travel and Tourism Council actually predicts a 7.7% growth rate for the Middle East over the next 10 years. That's bigger than any other region in the world. And while I think that number is truly impressive, I think it's going to be really important for those of us in the industry to figure out how to manage and capitalize on that to set ourselves up for success. And Dubai is already taking some notable steps to make that a reality. We'll put the trends from this year's report into three key buckets. I'd say these are what we need to look at. Number one is the rise of the middle class. We talked about that growth on that last slide, right, for the Middle East. We think a lot of that growth is going to be driven by Chinese and Indian travelers primarily. By 2030, those two markets are going to represent 3.5 billion people collectively with a B. It's going to be 59% of all middle-class consumption worldwide. And I think Dubai is already thinking about ways to capitalize on this growth with strategic expansion of supply here in the destination, and also a visitor dispersal strategy that's going to help manage the over-tourism potential of having this surge of new visitors coming in. Second trend I think is really important here from this year's report is this emphasis on sustainable, responsible tourism. We're here, of course, on the heels of COP28, just wrapped up yesterday, and I think it's well understood by those of us in the industry that things like CO2 reductions, more eco-friendly tourism are going to be really important for our industry. When we talk about sustainability, we're talking in a more broad sense in this year's report. We're talking about other factors like making our industry more accessible to different types of travelers, for instance, people of determination. We're also talking about creating more culturally immersive experiences in destinations. How can we help people engage more authentically with local communities when they come to visit Dubai? The third trend I was going to mention is the old patterns of business travel are shifting. We have this rise in blended travel. The popularity of remote work has clearly increased. Habits have changed since 2020 when the pandemic set in. And I think the best sign of this is that a lot of travelers are adding a leisure component to their work trips. They're blended. And I think that's going to require new accommodation categories. It's also going to require new tech infrastructure from our industry, high-speed internet, for example. We dig a little bit more deeply into these trends, talking about this point of the rise of the middle class. With that surge, I think it's going to need to be managed in a responsible way. Otherwise, it threatens to overwhelm those of us in the destination, whether we're suppliers. It can have impacts for the quality of life of residents. It can also impact travelers themselves. And so I think that's why leading destinations like Dubai are thinking about this so smartly. They're planning in a smart way. They're coordinating with partners in the destination on things like the hotel development pipeline and thinking about that and matching that up with visitor growth targets, right? We see a chart on this slide of total accommodation supply by number of rooms, also by property type. And really, I think the point here is that the mid-scale category, things like apartment-style accommodations, those are going to become more important as you bring new categories of traveler into the destination. The second point I wanted to mention is this idea, again, of sustainability. We just talked about COP28, how important that's being for the destination and global travel as a whole. But I also want to emphasize again, sustainability is not just about environmental sustainability. It's also about factors like accessibility. We're also talking about sustainability in the context of younger generations of travelers. Generation Z, for example. They have new priorities. They want to experience destinations in different ways. And I think this quote here from Nishank, he's one of the key executives at TUI, one of the leading tour operators, is a really good example of this. People want to engage with local communities in new ways. They want to have more authentic experiences. They want to connect with those places in different ways. We're going to need to think about how to change that dynamic. And then last but not least, this point about blended travel. On this chart on the left here, we see an example of the percentage of business travelers who have actually extended their trip in the past 12 months. They added a leisure component to it, right? The two biggest markets here are India, close to 3/4 of all respondents, 50% of those in the US. And I think it's going to be really important for destinations like Dubai. They're already thinking ahead about this phenomenon in terms of things like 12-month visas for remote work, new tech infrastructure, having high-speed internet. If I'm going to come work someplace, I need the internet to be good. Really important. And things like hybrid accommodations. You want to stay in a place where you can actually get some work done, but also have some fun. So that kind of wraps up the report. Here's the QR code again if you'd like to download a copy. It's free. We'd love for you to take a look. Thank you again. Enjoy this afternoon.